Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. It's getting towards Valentine's Day, so I thought it'd be time to do a Valentine's Day project, and I decided to draw up kind of a little Cupid's bow. I think it's a cute idea, and I think it'll be fun to make. So let's do that tonight, and I think it'll be a good project. So let's see if we can pull this off. All right, let's get started. So this is one of my design idea sketchbooks. This particular one has some information about solder flow temperatures on the back. Some of the other ones have different information. That's generally about metalsmithing or converting units and things like that. What I really like about them, though, is this dot matrix in the background. It really helps me to draw better pictures because I'm not super good at drawing pictures. But over the past 4 years since I started doing the YouTube channel, I have found it super valuable to have a record of the things that I've made, because I've made so many things I can't remember how I did them all, and if I want to revisit it, it's good to have a record. So this is kind of what I had in mind tonight. So you can see I got a little kind of recurve Cupid's bow with the curly Q ends. I found this little, I have 2 of them. Let's see if I can find my little stone grabber thingy bobber. Hopefully you can see that. This is probably the first heart-shaped stone I've ever done on the channel, because I don't particularly like heart-shaped stones in general. However, it seems appropriate for this one, so we're going to make it the arrowhead here. It's about 4.7 by 4 millimeters, I think, when I measured it. It's wider this way than it is this way. But I'm going to make a little tiny bezel setting for it. We'll be using probably some 20 gauge wire to create a little step in there for the stone to sit on. And I'm going to use some 28 gauge fine silver bezel strip. It started out as 3/16 inch, but I cut it down a little bit shorter, and I may file it down further yet in order to get it to match where the girdle meets the bezel. So this bow part here is going to be 8 gauge half round that I'm going to file and shape down, and then curly Q the ends. And then I'm going to texture the handle here with something, I'm not sure which. I'm not sure what I'm going to use to do that. I may just use my chasing hammer. The arrow is going to be 16 gauge round wire here, which is 1.3 millimeters. The little feathers on the arrow I'm going to make out of 22 gauge sheet. The wire here is going to be 18 gauge round. And I have just for balance, because this sticks out of this side and this sticks out of this side, I'm going to have the arrow kind of sitting on top of it. It's not really knocked like you would, because I think it'll look better this way, honestly, even if it's not technically accurate. And then I'm going to make a little sandwich heart-shaped bail for the top. And this will probably be 18 gauge round wire, and this is 22 gauge sheet with some spacers in between, made out of some square wire or something. So that's my plan. I think we'll probably start by making a bezel here, so let's do that first. It's going to be challenging for me because this is kind of a small one, and my hands aren't really all that small. So I feel like not putting the end of the bezel where it solders together in that little crack is important, so I'm going to start kind of off to the side, and I'm just going to do some manual shaping. It's pretty close. We'll give it a try. The heart is actually kind of a naughty symbol if you look it up. It's not. It was not originally representing a heart. I'll let you seek out that information on your own, but It was sort of a fertility symbol. Set him over here so I don't knock him off the table, which would be standard operating procedure for me. That's pretty close, actually. See if I can get the other side shaped as well. I'm going to make this side the bottom since it's the... I'm going to jinx myself here too because I keep saying I'm going to make a mark so I don't forget which side's the bottom. And then I do it on the opposite side. I'm not sure why. I've done that a lot lately. So, okay, so we need to make a little heart-shaped thing. I think what I'll do in order to get a pretty good one is I'm going to file a little notch in this so I can bend it sharply in one spot, a little sharper. This is 20 gauge round. Kind of like that. It's just a little big, I think. I'm going to go ahead and solder that in a little bit of this solder here. That should be just peachy, I think. I'm going to file it a little bit shorter and file the bottom a little bit so it's nice and flat. Oops, where'd you go? There you are. I was making a watch band for my Patreon yesterday, and I dropped one of the little links, and it took me like 10 minutes to find it on the floor. If you're new to metalsmithing, a big component of it is crawling around on the floor looking for a stone you dropped or a component you dropped. At least it is for me. So this is going to be my arrow. This is some 16 gauge round. I found a little piece laying around here. You spend a little time getting it nice and straight. I thought about using a little teardrop shaped garnet, but the only ones I had were just a little bit too big for the size of piece I wanted to do, so I didn't want to scale it up much. You just want to solder it on like that. Let's do that. I'm going to do something called pick soldering, where I pick up a little bit of solder and touch it where I want it to go. It's a really useful skill. It's probably the primary skill that has helped me the most as far as metalsmithing goes. So if you're interested, I'll put a link up there for you. It's a useful skill. Once you master that, it makes it so much easier to get solder where you want it to go. At least I have found that to be the case. Oh, if you're interested in my torch and soldering setup, there's some information up there about it. This is hard silver sheet solder that I'm using to pick solder with. I have a tendency to put it in there too soon, because ideally you want it to go in there right when you reach the soldering temperature. Oops. Roll that right onto my lap and we'll see how fast Chad can still move. Let's make a mark where we're going to put those feathers. From about here to about here. And so we'll cut it off a little bit so it sticks out from there. I don't think we need to actually put a little knock in it or anything unless you want to get really fancy. It'll be so small nobody can really see it anyway. So. Alright, let me find some 22 gauge. I might have a little scrap laying around that I can use. Close enough, probably. So I want to put a little texture on these. I'm going to try and use my chasing hammer. Sometimes if I use the edge on this, I can get kind of a nice linear sort of texture. Oops. Hopefully I can do this without shooting it across the room. Okay, got a little bit of texture there. So I think the best way, I'll probably cut these a little bit shorter once they're attached. The best way to get these attached without having a lot of solder flow into the little designs that we just hammered in there is to pre-melt a little bit of solder on the arrow. So let's do that. Let's cut some more. I'm going to make these corners not quite so pointy so that whoever ends up wearing this doesn't poke themselves too badly. That would be Cupid's job, not theirs, right? Is that pretty good? I think that's all right. So maybe we can start working on the recurve part here. I did cut a piece of, where did that go? 6 gauge half round there. What I did, I cut it a little bit longer than I thought I needed, maybe. But I marked off where I want that handle to be. And I think what we'll be doing is I'm going to file that down, you know, just kind of maybe starting with my half round file here, just to kind of get it delineated. You wouldn't necessarily have to do this part by hand. You could use a rotary tool with an abrasive bed, or you know, different kinds of burrs or whatever. Or you could saw it out, I suppose, with your saw. That might be quicker. So I think I'm going to try and bend these forward just slightly. So I kind of stick them out to the front a bit. It's always going to try and turn on you a little bit when you're trying to bend something in the way that it doesn't want to bend. So we might need to come back over and flatten it back out a bit. Good enough, probably. Okay, so now we got those forward a little bit. I think if we file inwards from the back, right here, right next to this, kind of in this range, it looks like it needs to be maybe about too bad here. So basically from about here up to there, from about here up to there, we need to taper it down this way so it narrows enough to curl it, but mostly tapered pretty sharply at the end. I want it to be kind of chubby bow there. So I feel like maybe I need to do a little more bending now. I want this to bend back just a little bit right there. Some of this I'll smooth out with the Dremel a little bit. I think, however, Okay, I'm going to go and neaten that up with Dremel, and then I'll be back. Okay, I've got that cleaned up a little bit. And I think now my task is going to be to try and duplicate that on this side. So that's what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to make you watch me do the same thing over. When I come back, we can texture this. And I think I'm probably going to cut a slot right in the middle so that arrow rests in there. Okay, you know, like that. Or should we just do it on top? I'm not sure. I think sunk down just a little bit maybe. So I'll be back. So here's my bow. I think that's pretty decent. I filed this a little bit narrower here. And I think I'm going to use the saw to put a little just kind of lines like it's a handle. And then maybe use the Dremel to cut a little groove in there. And then we'll solder those together. What do you think? So let's grab my saw. Yeah, I'm just going to use the Dremel to cut a little notch right down the center for that arrow to sit in. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I want to solder this on here, but I really don't want that arrowhead to drop off of the arrow. So why don't we use a magnesia block? I could also just do it this way. Push that all the way down. That might be the easiest way to do it. But in order to do that, let's sweat a little bit of solder on there so it's ready to be attached in the right place. Well, I think if I get that hot enough, oh my little arrow fins are kind of moving a little bit. I have to push those back down. I think that'll be all right. Let me find some 18 gauge rounds. I'm going to cut a bigger piece than I need. Kind of bend it in the center a little bit. I think that'll probably work. I think we need to put a little solder on the wire first, though. So let's do that. Maybe flux this a little bit on the back. So I'm just going to cut these off. Kind of file it so it kind of just smooths in there like that. That looks pretty good. So last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make one of those little sandwich bales. If you'd like to see how to make a sandwich bale, I'll put a link up there for you. For time's sake, I'm just going to make it off camera, and because the movie will get to be too long. So I'm just going to add a little ring on top and one of those little heart-shaped sandwich bales. All right. Okay, so I got it in the setting. I got it filed down a little bit, and I've done a little bit of pushing using my outside of my chain nose pliers, which is how I generally push the bezel. Now that I've done that, though, I'm going to take the rounded part and kind of burnish this down. There's my pendant. That's kind of what I had in mind. Let's see how close we came with. Same idea, a little bit bigger, but that's kind of what I was shooting for. All right, well, I'll get the top of the bezel cleaned up a little bit better with the Dremel, and I'll get some better pictures. Put it on the chain. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you would have changed. I'm always curious to hear what you would do differently. Tell me about some other Valentine's pieces you've made in the past. All right, well, thanks for watching. Okay, well, that was a Cupid's bow with a little heart-shaped ruby. I hope you enjoyed that project. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you go, and I'd love it if you'd take a moment and visit my main channel page. I have lots of content over there. I've been making 3 videos per week for about 4 years now. So there's a lot of good information over there. You're almost certain to find something useful and or interesting. There's lots of projects and different skill levels. So check it out. And I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my channel. There's no cost to that, and it helps me out a lot. So I wanted to thank a couple of groups of people. My patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters. I have a couple of new ones. I have Katie R. and Alex T. Thank you for signing up. I really do appreciate your support. I think you'll find it's a great community over there where you can get to know some other artists and pick each other's brains and show each other what you're working on and get advice and give advice. It's a nice community. So thanks for joining up, and thank you to my previous patrons for making it such a nice place. I do appreciate all of your support. The other group are my YouTube subscribers. We just passed 26,700, I believe. That's amazing. Thank you for that. I couldn't do it without your support as well. I do really love the kind comments that I get and the people sharing their ideas and their suggestions and constructive criticism, or just telling me what their story is. So that really is heartwarming, and I do appreciate that. I also really appreciate the financial support, people who buy me coffees or super thanks or buying my merchandise or my ebooks. That stuff keeps my channel sustainable, and I couldn't do it without that. So thank you for that. Finally, don't forget to hit the video description down below. There are some important links there. There's a link to my Patreon if you want to find out more about that community. It's a great place with a lot of cool people, so check it out. There's multiple tiers of membership with different privileges. It might be for you as well. You can visit my merch store in the link in the description. Get yourself one of those nice design idea sketchbooks or some other merch. I find those pretty valuable and useful. Get yourself a nice present. Or check out my newest ebook, which is a guide to 2025's videos. It includes a page for each of the videos I did during 2025. It's got over 200 pages. I I think there's like 170 or 180 video links. And each one, in addition to the link to the video, has a picture of my original sketch, a picture of the final outcome of the project, a list of materials it requires to make it, stone information if there's a stone in it, a difficulty rating, sort of subjective on my part, and some additional notes I took about it, like did I find the project difficult? What would I do differently if I was to do it again? Did I learn something from the project? Because I almost always learn something new when I'm trying something I haven't done before. So, but yeah, it's a great way to have a whole bunch of projects right at your fingertips, and a nice way to support my channel. So thanks in advance if you do that. You can even get multiple books for the 3 different years as a package deal for about $15 off if you get all 3 of them. So check it out. It's a good deal, and you'll have tons of projects to work on forever. So thanks again for watching today. Take care. Happy silversmithing.